Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Steven and Jacqueline. Today we're going to barbecue a rack of St. Louis ribs using sweet barbecue rub, and we'll be sprucing up a barbecue sauce with some rum and honey to glaze with. So let's sit back and enjoy the ride.
Well guys, let's go season up our St. Louis ribs with our homemade sweet rub, and here's our ingredients.
You will need 1 rack of St. Louis ribs, brown sugar, kosher salt, black pepper, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, ground mustard powder, and cayenne pepper.
So guys, our main ingredient is going to be sugar in this sweet rub, and we're going in with a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. And the next ingredient going into the pool will be 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. You can also taste your seasoning after you have made it to see if you had enough salt. Next ingredient will be some coarse black pepper. I'm going in with about 3 teaspoons of this. The original recipe calls for 2 teaspoons. But I'm a big fan of black pepper, so 3 teaspoons will be fine for me. The next ingredient going into the pool will be paprika. Here I'm going in with 2 teaspoons of regular paprika. Although the original recipe calls for smoked paprika, I didn't have any at the time. And of course, you know we have got to add that garlic flavor, so here I'm going in with 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic. And of course, you know it's all about the layers of flavor. And for that onion flavor, here I have some onion powder. You're really supposed to use granulated, but I don't have any. I'm going in with 2 teaspoons of this. Now this is the first time I'm actually trying out this rub. Next ingredient into the pool is going to be some mustard powder. Here I'm just going to be adding 1 teaspoon into the mix. And of course, for a bit of that kick, we're going in with some cayenne pepper. I'm going in with 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, although the original recipe calls for 1/2 teaspoon, but you know I love that kick. Now all you have got to do is give this a mixy mix and make sure that all those flavors come together. The original recipe for the sweet rub was found on a channel called Hey Grill Hey. I will have a link to the channel in the description box below and also in the iCards above. Well, now that our sweet rub is all made up, we're going to get this bottled up off camera, and I'll bring you back and I'll show you how I season the ribs. So guys, here's my St. Louis cut ribs, which I broke down from a full rack of spears, where are the rib tips and the breastbone. I did not show this trimming because there are a lot of great channels out there that do that. Example, Mama and Papa Joe. I will have a link to their channel in the description box below and also in the iCards above. Here I'm just applying a light coating of yellow mustard, and this is going to act as the binder for our seasoning. I did forget to mention earlier on that I did remove the membrane from the back of those ribs. Now that you have gotten our binder on, we're going to apply our homemade sweet rub, and we're going to do this liberally. When you are finished applying the rub, you want to take your hand and pat in the rub, never rub the rub. Now that the underside of our ribs are done, let's do the top side, and we're going to do the same thing by applying some of that mustard. And of course, here's my helper right here. Now all you want to do is just rub in that mustard lightly. After doing this, you want to apply your sweet rub once again, and believe it or not, applying that mustard, you would not taste the mustard after you have finished cooking those ribs. And of course, you want to never rub a rub, you want to pat in the rub. Now we're going to get those edges all seasoned up. So guys, remember, I am not a professional by any means. Now that our ribs are all seasoned up, we're going to wrap them in some cling wrap and let that sit in the refrigerator for 24 hours. This is going to give it enough time for that rub to sweat into those ribs. So when I see you guys next, it will be the following day. And in the miracle of time, 24 hours has gone by, so let's unwrap those ribs. And here you can see where that rub has sweated into those ribs nicely. So when next you see me again, it's going to be by my trusty old cheddar, and I'm going to show you how I have that set up for a long cook. Here we are, my trusty old cheddar, and you can see here's my setup for the long cook, where I have my coals, my fire blocks, and also my pan to put my water in. The water pan is going to help create a bit of moisture while cooking those ribs. Now to create our long cook, we're just going to light a little bit of coals in the corner. The lighted coals are going to ignite the coals next to them, but this is going to take a while. This method is called the Minion Method, and you're going to get a long cook without having to add any coals. I usually get about 4.5 to 5.5 hours when lighting my coals this way. And for a bit of smoke flavor, I'll be adding 1 chunk of apple wood. Now it's time to cover down my trusty chibber and let that apple wood start to do its thing. And here you can see that smoke build up and it is starting to clear, and this is what we are looking for, that clean smoke. Well, now it's time to lay down those bad boys on this grill. We're going to be putting them opposite the hot coals to get some indirect cooking. Here I'm just crunching up those ribs to make sure that they are straight, and this is the way they're going to remain while they are cooking. Now it's time to put the cover on and let that chibber do its thing, and there you can see that smoke rolling out. Well, here we are. An hour has gone by. I'm just going to spin those ribs around to make sure I get some even cooking going on. Here I'm just checking to see how our bark is coming along, but the rub is still coming off, so this means it has some ways to go, probably about an hour or so. Here I'm adding another chunk of wood. This is post oak. Sorry guys, I don't have those fancy grill with those flaps, so I have to do a bit of maneuvering. Another hour has gone by and our ribs are coming along nicely. Here I'm just checking to see if our bark is set, and yes it is. And the way you can tell this is that the rub is not sticking on my finger. I say it's time to give our ribs a spritzy spritz. Here I'm using equal parts water and apple cider vinegar. Keeping the ribs moist is very important because smoke loves that moisture. Once again, I'm turning it around to get some even cooking. You may not have to do this dependent on the cooker that you have. So put the cover on and let that go for another half an hour. And in the meanwhile, let's head on over to the counter and we're going to duct up a barbecue sauce for our ribs. Here I just have a local store-bought barbecue sauce which I'm going to duct up for our ribs. So into the bowl goes in about a half cup of this barbecue sauce. Next in the party, I'm going in with a bit of local honey, about a 1/4 cup or so, and this is going to bring a bit of sweetness to the sauce. And now for the star of the show and that Caribbean vibes. Here I have some red rum. I'm going in with 2 tablespoons of this into our sauce, and this is going to add another dimension of flavor. Sticking with the theme, I'm going in with a bit of that sweet rub, about 2 teaspoons of this. Now all you need to do is take your spoon and give this a good old mix to make sure that all those flavors come together. Here I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of water just to thin out that sauce a little. I'm just giving it a taste to see if we are on point, and it looks like we definitely are. So now it's time to head on back over to the grill, so see you there. And here we are back at the grill. I'm just going to be warming up the sauce some. As you can see, our ribs are looking mighty fine, but in the meanwhile it needs a bit of spritzing.
Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and click the post notifications for more.
So guys, now that the bark is set and we have gotten that color we are looking for, I say it's time to go wrap those ribs. Here you can see we're getting that bend and we are also getting that pull back on those bones, so that means that we are coming along nicely. And here we are at our kitchen counter once again. I'm just laying down some real butter on a piece of foil. And our next ingredient that I'm going to layer down is going to be a bit of that brown sugar. And this is going to add some sweetness to those ribs. Next in the pool, I'm going down with some of that ducted up barbecue sauce that we need. For another level of sweetness, we're also going to be going down with a bit of honey. And in keeping with the flavor, we're also going to add a bit of our homemade sweet rub. Now it's time to get those bad boys on that pile of goodness, and we're going to repeat that same process on the underside of those ribs. After you have done this, it's time to wrap those ribs carefully in the foil. You want to wrap those ribs tightly in that foil, and this is going to create that steam and help those ribs to get tender. This is known as the Texas cheat. I will have the full recipes of how to make that sweet rub and also to duct up that barbecue sauce in the description box below. Here I just double wrap the ribs because I don't want that goodness that I have created in there to leak out. Now that you have got your ribs all double wrapped and ready to go, let's head on back over to the grill to continue this cook. And here we are back at my trusty old chebba, and there you can see our coals burning nice and slow. It's time to place those ribs opposite the hot coals once again. Cover this down and we're going to let this run for about an hour and a half. Well, in the miracle of time, an hour and a half has gone by, so it's time to check on those ribs for tenderness. You want to be very careful when opening this foil, otherwise the steam will burn you. Just ask me how I know this. Here you can see the nice pullback on those bones, and here I'm just probing for tenderness, and we are probing like butter. You don't really need to check temps in this cook, but here I'm just showing you that we are reading a little over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Here I'm getting ready with my MagnaChef gloves on to pull off those ribs for a couple minutes to get them ready for saucing with that spruced up barbecue sauce that I made. These gloves was given to me by my brother Alton over the Dawgfatha's barbecue. I will have a link to his channel in the description box and also in the iCards above. Here I'm just taking the foil and I'm forming it into a boat. Now that we have made our foil boat, it's time to flip those ribs right on back over. All you have got to do is set those ribs opposite the hot coals in that boat, and it's time to get ready for some saucing. And now it's time to start saucing our ribs with that doctored up barbecue sauce that I made with that rum and honey. I have got to say, for me being a novice, that those ribs are looking pretty okay. And here's a bird's eye view of what I'm talking about, and they're looking mighty fine. So we're going to leave this on the grill for about 15 to 20 minutes so our sauce can get nice and tacky. So our 20 minutes is up, so it's time to get those ribs off of the grill, and we are going to head on over inside to deal with those bad boys. So guys, I say it's time to cut this sucker up and see how we did. Well, it's time to flip this bad boy so we can see those bones where we can cut into those ribs. Here you can see that those ribs are cutting just like butter. And here's what one of the ribs look like on the inside. You can see a bit of a small smoke ring. I don't know if the camera is picking it up at all. Well, it looks like we did a mighty fine job. Now that we have gotten our ribs all cut up, let's sit back, fasten our seatbelt and get ready for a drive back. Let's go!
Well, boys and girls, here's our delicious Caribbean style barbecue St. Louis ribs, and it was so tasty. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the post notifications for more videos. See you all on our next cooking journey, and we're out until next time.